Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Skyrim Books. In this episode, we'll be reading A Brief History of the Empire, Volume 1. A Brief History of the Empire, Part 1, by Strana Cathoy III, Imperial Historian. Before the rule of Tiber Septim, all Tamriel was in chaos. The poet Tracius called the period of continuous unrest, days and nights of blood and venom. The kings were a petty lot of grasping tyrants, who fought Tiber's attempts to bring order to the land. But they were as disorganized as they were dissolute, and the strong hand of Septim brought peace forcibly to Tamriel. The year was Second Era 896. The following year, the Emperor declared the beginning of the new era, thus began the Third Era, year Aught. For 38 years, the Emperor Tiber reigned supreme. It was a lawful, pious, and glorious age, when justice was known to one and all, from serf to sovereign. On Tiber's death, it reigned for an entire fortnight, as if the land of Tamriel itself was weeping. The emperor's grandson, Pelagius, came to the throne. Though his reign was short, he was as strong as resolute as his father had been, and Tamriel could have enjoyed a continuation of a golden age. Alas, an unknown enemy of the Septim family hired that accursed organization of cutthroats, the Dark Brotherhood, to kill the Emperor Pelagius I, as he knelt at prayer at the Temple of the One in the imperial city. Pelagius I's reign lasted less than 3 years. Pelagius had no living children, so the crown imperial passed to his first cousin, the daughter of Tiber's brother Agnerith. Kintria, former queen of Silvanar, assumed the throne as Kintria I. Her reign was blessed with prosperity and good harvests, and she herself was a avid patroness of art, music, and dance. Kintria's son was crowned after her death, and the first emperor of Tamriel to use the imperial name Uriel. Uriel I was the great lawmaker of the Septim dynasty, the promoter of independent organizations and guilds. Under his kind but firm hand, the Fighters' Guild and the Mages' Guild increased in prominence throughout Tamriel. His son and his successor, Uriel II, reigned for 18 years, from the death of Uriel I in the Third Era 64 to Pelagius II's ascension in Third Era 82. Tragically, the rule of Uriel II was cursed with blights, plagues, and insurrections. The tenderness he inherited from his father did not serve Tamriel well, and little justice was done. Pelagius II inherited not only the throne from his father, but the debt from the latter's poor financial and judiciary management. Pelagius dismissed all of the Elder Council and allowed only those willing to pay great sums to resume their seats. He ignored similar acts among his vassals, the kings of Tamriel, and by the end of his 17 years of reign, Tamriel had returned to prosperity. His critics, however, had suggested that any advisor possessed of wisdom, but not the gold, had been similarly ousted by Pelagius. This may have led to some of the troubles his son Antiochus faced when he in turn became emperor. Antiochus was certainly one of the more flamboyant members of the usually austere Septim family. He had numerous mistresses, and as nearly as many wives, and was renowned for the grandeur of his dress and his high good humor. Unfortunately, his reign was rife with civil war, surpassing even that of his grandfather Uriel II. The War of the Isle in Third Era 110, 12 years after Antiochus resumed the throne, nearly took the province of Somerset Isle away from Tamriel. The united alliance of the kings of Somerset and Antiochus only managed to defeat King Orgon of the island kingdom of Pannonia due to the freak storm. Legend credits the Sigic Order of the Isle of Artuncaum with the sorcery behind the Tempest. The story of Kintria II, heiress to her father Antiochus' throne, is certainly one of the saddest tales in imperial history. Her first cousin Uriel, son of Queen Pomea of Solitude, accused Kintria of being a bastard, alluding to the infamous decadence of the imperial city during her father's reign. When his accusation failed to stop her coronation, Uriel bought the support of several disgruntled kings of High Rock, Skyrim, and Morrowind, and with the Queen Potamea assistance, he coordinated 3 attacks on the Septim Empire. The first attack occurred in Iliac Bay region, which separates High Rock and Hammerfell. Kentria's entourage was massacred and the Empress taken captive. For 2 years, Kentria II languished in an imperial prison, believed to be somewhere in Glenpoint or Glenmoral, before she was slain in her cell under mysterious circumstances. The second attack was on a series of imperial garrisons along the coastal Morrowind Islands. The Empress's escort, Cutton Aronyx, fell defending the forts. The third and final attack was a siege of the imperial city itself, occurring after the Elder Council had split up the army to attack western High Rock and eastern Morrowind. The weakened government had little defense against Uriel's determined aggression and capitulated after only a fortnight of resistance. Uriel took the throne that same evening and proclaimed himself Uriel III, Emperor of Tamriel. The year was Third Era, 121. Thus began the War of Red Diamond, describes in Volume 2 of the series. And that was the first book that we have ever done. Thank you for joining us, and see you in Part 2, The Brief History of the Empire, Volume 2.